Everything matters. How we wake up, how we dress, how we eat, how we meet, how we train, how we practice, how we rehab, how we recover, how we treat one another, how we treat everyone.
Second half, that's our style. That's what we represent. Showing that fight, showing your urgency, showing the effort, the technique, and the violence that we stand for, guys.
This is Jets Game Day with Robert Saleh. Here is your host, Eric Allen.
Jets Bengals today at MetLife Stadium. Eric Allen and Bart Scott here in the studio. We're joined by Leger Douzable. The band is back together in 2022, but let's start with Bart. How's your ticker feeling after Sunday's improbable Jets 31-30 comeback victory over the Cleveland Browns?
It's feeling refreshed, right? Because, listen, we know that this young team was doing all the right things, but the results really wasn't coming. I mean, they stuck together. And, listen, this will never happen again, but this is very teachable tape. It's nothing like having a young team, having plenty of mistakes, and then being able to learn from those mistakes with the victory on top. I think we really understand and decided who's going to be the number one receiver. So now guys can start understanding their roles and understanding what's expected of them so everybody can take a step forward.
Deuce, how can this victory propel the Jets in Week 3 today against the Cincinnati Bengals and beyond?
Yeah, like Bart just said, man, it's a lot easier to correct those mistakes after a win. You saw there was things that the Jets can get better in, but it's a lot easier, again, when you win those games. So something like this can start something. And Bart, you know that. It's all about momentum. Like a lot of teams, you may not have faith in you, but you go out and win a game like that, it starts some people in the locker room, they start believing in each other. And they feel like, you know what, we have the confidence. We can go out there and compete with anybody. And the game is never over till it's over. So you really love Robert Saleh and the energy he had on the sideline. And he said in the press conference after the game that as soon as they got that onside kick, he knew they were going to go out and win. So you just know that this team has more confidence than it has had in the past.
All right, you were a versatile defensive lineman during your playing days, Leger. But let's look at the other side of the ball. The Jets offense, it's young, it's explosive. How good can this group be?
They could be really good, EA. If you look at it, to me, it comes down to the offensive line and the continuity in building that offensive line. We know the injuries that have happened. Mekhi Becton gets hurt. They also lose Dwayne Brown. Max Mitchell steps up at right tackle, 4th-round pick, has played really well. If that offensive line can continue to gel, because they've ran the ball really well. I mean, they're averaging damn near 5 yards a carry, EA, and you saw that. Joe Flacco, if he's given time, he can really dissect a defense. Back-to-back 300-yard games. Garrett Wilson is everything that we thought he would be, is becoming maybe a number one receiver. And Elijah Moore, when you turn on the tape, EA, he is wide open. I know Michael LaFleur will be adamant in getting the ball in his hand this week.
Bart, let's talk about special teams.
Yeah.
That's where you made your mark early in your career. Yeah. The Jets special teams units across the board were terrific against the Browns.
You talk about, you can tell that they benefited from some tough coaching after struggling week 1. They came back. They want to represent themselves the proper way. They showed that this is a talented young unit as well. Listen, they came out and they performed, and they were the difference in the game. You talk about onside kicks, and especially when the team calls a timeout, they know exactly how the ball is going to be laid on the tee. They think they have an indication of what type of kick is coming. It didn't matter because it was perfect execution. Everybody did their job, and the moment wasn't too big for them, and it was too big for the Cleveland Browns, and they benefited from that. And these are things that maybe come up once or twice in your career where you become the difference in wins and losses, and they were prepared for the moment. So that's really a credit to their attention to detail. We understand that you practice those special situations on really fast Fridays and Saturdays where you're kind of going through walkthroughs and everybody's laughing and joking, but they paid attention to detail and they executed it, and that's why they won the game.
Leger, defensively, what do the Jets have to shore up here as we move ahead?
I think missed tackles is the biggest thing on the defensive side of the ball. And then also the defensive line rushing together. That is a big thing. When you're a defensive unit and defensive line unit, you got to know where to rush. Me and Bart were actually just talking about this off camera. Carl Lawson running past the quarterback. You can't do that. You got to retrace your steps. You can't allow the quarterback to step up into the pocket and then give him a big viewing range where he can find receivers down the field or even potentially run down the field. You have to get that corrected. We saw them do a pretty good job versus Lamar Jackson in week 1. Joe Burrow is a guy that has athletic ability that can step up into the pocket. Their O-line has struggled, so he's been more athletic as of late as far as trying to, manipulate the pocket, move around in the pocket, and find receivers downfield. So missed tackles and definitely the defensive line rushing as one unit together.
Coming up, we'll go one-on-one with Jets head coach Robert Saleh. But first, here's Cynthia Freeland with a lot more on impressive rookie receiver Garrett Wilson.
This is Maximum Altitude with Cynthia Freeland, brought to you by NFL All Day.
Coming out of Ohio State, my pre-draft notes on Garrett Wilson read, Wilson is my model's top-rated receiver due to route running precision, netting the most separation in the 2022 class. And he also ranks in the top 95th percentile in fatigue over a 25-season sample, which means he was able to get open and also not get tired at elite rates in college. PFF tracked his quarterback's passer rating at 141.7 when targeting him. Against the Browns, Wilson showed how he earns and capitalizes on separation with 5 of his 8 receptions for 77 of his 102 yards, along with 1 of his 2 touchdowns coming on passes where he had at least 5 yards of cushion. However, the game-winning touchdown, which left only 22 seconds on the clock, came against tight coverage, where Wilson's burst off the line of scrimmage helped him get to the exact spot Flacco needed for the 15-yard score and helped the Jets become the first team in NFL history to overcome a 13-point deficit to win with 90 seconds left to play. Let's see if Wilson can find the end zone today against the Bengals.
Don't go away. We're going inside the walls with Coach Saleh right after this. This is Inside the Walls, presented by Microsoft Surface.
You're always the optimist, but Browns have the ball inside the 20, up 7, and then they actually score to go up 13 with 1:55 remaining. What's going on in your mind as that coach?
It's not good. Bad situation, right? And it's unlikely that something good's going to happen, but you never know. So you got to keep everybody encouraged. You've got to keep a positive mindset and just give us one more chance. That's all you ask for. Just give us a chance. Give us a chance to make a play, and until the whistle blows, it's not over. And if you have that mindset, it doesn't matter where you are in the game. You just keep fighting. And credit to the guys. We made a play. And once that onside happened, it was over.
Why were you able to pull it off, though? Does it speak to the character of this team?
Yeah, the character of our roster is it's made up of a bunch of great young men, and that entire fourth quarter is kind of a microcosm of everything that we've been talking about with a young team that's got to find consistency in making plays in crunch time. I'm not worried about us being in a game for the first 3 quarters. It becomes that fourth quarter and everything I've been talking about with being excited to see who's going to step up to be our playmakers, to make the plays at the end of the game. And we're not always going to get the back end of the fourth quarter. So how can we learn how to do that in the beginning of the fourth quarter? But what's exciting is that they showed to themselves that they can do it. And now it's just a matter of finding ways to do it. And I think the character of this team and the way they're wired mentally, they don't flinch. And it's going to be exciting to see it. Like I said, these fourth quarters every week it's going to be awesome to see who becomes the superstars of this football team.
Garrett Wilson, first Jets rookie receiver ever with 100 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns in the same game. What impresses you most about him?
It's not too big for him. With all these rookies, a lot of times you go into these games and rookies are bright-eyed and their eyes are big and they're just kind of half frozen in the moment, and it takes time to get them warmed up and all that. But this kid, he doesn't flinch. Ahmad Gardner doesn't flinch. Jermaine, all of them. I mean, they jump in and they expect to be great. And when they're not great, they get so competitive that they want back in. They don't want to go, Garrett drops the ball on that 3rd down and he's not hiding like, God, I don't want another moment. He's just begging for an opportunity to make amends. And that's what impresses me most about him and our entire rookie class is that they don't flinch. They're not scared. It's not too big for them. And they learn. They're sponges, and they're just downloading information with every passing moment.
We often are focused on the outside and the guys who have the ball in their hands. How good has Elijah Vera Tucker been for you
Oh,
these first 2 games?
No, he's been great. He's been great. He's been very consistent. Obviously, he still has a long way to go too. I think he's got all-pro potential, and as he gets comfortable with the people around him, and as he continues to get better and comfortable within the scheme, it is only year 2 for him, and he's already performing at a high level. He's only going to get better, and he's a man of great character and a standard of what everyone should look at if you want to look at what a football player should be.
You got a wounded Tiger coming to MetLife Stadium here this week. What do you see from the Bengals?
I see a team that had 5 turnovers and no takeaways and an overtime loss. And I see a team that lost on a 50-yard field goal to end the game in Dallas. So I still see the AFC champs. And this 0-2 thing, you can throw it all away. They're not an 0-2 football team. They've been on the wrong side of luck. They're still very explosive on offense. Their defense is playing very well. They're a well-coached team. They play with a lot of energy, and they're going to give us everything we can handle for sure.
And finally, as a head coach who's molding this team, I ask you this all the time, but are you excited for this next step to see how they handle success against a team that's going to come in here desperate for a victory?
Yeah, you always want to stack those days up, and you're always looking for wins, but it still goes back to the process. I'm excited to see how we approach our practice and see how we approach meetings and see how we take all the corrections and how we attack the install. And if we attack it the right way, then Sunday will take care of itself.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
After the break, we're back in the studio talking Jets football, and Brian Baldinger takes a look at what to expect out of Cincinnati. Stay tuned. Jets Game Day with Robert Saleh is brought to you by MetLife, the official insurance company of the New York Jets.
Welcome back to Jets Game Day. Eric Allen and Bart Scott in studio. We're joined by Leger Douzable. Let's talk some quarterbacks, Bart. Joe Flacco, your former teammate, is going for a 3rd consecutive 300-yard passing game.
Yeah.
He would become the first Jet ever to start a season to do that. What do you think about the way he's played?
Well, listen, Joe's Joe Cool, right? He understands the moment. We talked to him early, before the season started. He talked about how excited he was for the opportunity. This is a division that he knows very well, even though the people change, that the concepts and the belief and the way that the teams and the organizations operate never really change. So I feel he feels very comfortable, and especially when he goes on the road within these divisions. He knows what to expect from the fans. He knows the atmosphere, and he's not going to panic. But, I will hope that he's not throwing 44 times and 59 times. I think they hope that they can establish the run and make sure that they won't become a one-dimensional team. And, that speaks a lot about them being from behind as well, the number of passing attempts that he's had. I want him to be a little bit more efficient. And to do that, they got to, win on first down. I'm excited to see what Joe still has left and what he has for us this week and what the game plan is.
Dudes, situational football. The Jets thrived in it last week. 3 touchdowns in 2-minute situations. First time in franchise history. Cool Joe. He's earned that nickname.
Oh, 100%. And to Bart's point, right? Joe Cool just knows how to play football. He knows how to get the ball into the playmaker's hands. And actually, I would like to see some of that in the first quarter, more hurry-up offense, because it seemed like the Jets had continuity when they were doing that. Again, I talked about it earlier. Elijah Moore, right? He's been wide open. I know Mike LaFleur would do a better job in making sure he gets his touches this week. But Joe Flacco isn't doing anything crazy. He's just living within the offense and getting the ball to the playmakers. But again, I would like to see Mike LaFleur implore a little bit more hurry up in the beginning of the game, maybe in the first quarter coming out, to really get the Cincinnati Bengals defense off tilt.
For more on the Cincinnati Bengals, here's Brian Baldinger.
This is Baldy's Breakdown.
I'm Brian Baldinger for Jets Game Day with Robert Saleh, and it's time to take a look at the Bengals defense. The Bengals' veteran and talented defensive line is led by left end right here, number 91, Trey Hendrickson. He can beat you off the snap. He's got excellent pass rush moves, and he plays with relentless effort. He's got 27.5 sacks the last 2 seasons. He's got 52 quarterback hits and 4 forced fumbles, and just about gets the ball out of Mitch Trubisky's hands on that play. But he's more than just a pass rusher. He's got great first-step quickness. Like right here, he beats the tackle from the Cowboys. And once he's inside, he knocks off the guard, keeps his outside arm free, to take down Ezekiel Elliott. On the other side is Sam Hubbard, number 94. He rushes over the right offensive tackle. He is also relentless. He comes to a lot of twist stunts. He lines up at linebacker. He drops into coverage. They do a lot with Sam Hubbard. They treat him like a versatile linebacker. But ultimately, he can turn the corner. He can turn the corner and hunt down your quarterback. Even if you got a running back trying to chip him, he can get there and affect the quarterback and his throws. And then finally, the Jets are going to see, I think, the best defensive tackle they've faced so far. Number 98, DJ Reader. Like, this guy is powerful, can crush the pocket. He's hard to move. Like, he's a real block inside for the Bengals. This is a veteran, experienced, and talented defensive line the Jets are going to see.
Grab your cups. The morning tea is coming up next, followed by final thoughts on today's matchup with the Bengals. It's time for the morning tea.
Okay, Ethan, I'm going to start off game day with a good omen.
I'm ready. Positive vibes only.
The Jets have won the last 9 out of their 10 home games against the Bengals, including last year's victory, 34-31.
That was an awesome game. I'm glad you mentioned it because last year, Michael Carter and Ty Johnson combined for 166 receiving yards and a touchdown. So far through 2 games, the Jets running backs, 20 receptions. That's tied for first in the NFL. Think about last week, Breece Hall, his first touchdown catch.
It was great. It was really
awesome.
special.
Yeah.
Really special. You know who else had their first last week? Former Cincinnati Bengal Carl Lawson got his first recorded sack as a Jet. Big day for him.
Huge day, and you know he's chomping at the bit for Sunday against his former team. Robert Saleh said he's just warming up from his Achilles injury. He thinks that he has another gear in him, and that Jets pass rush going to see an offensive line that's led up a league-high 13 sacks through 2 weeks.
And they tried to work on that this offseason, so we'll see how they are today. But speaking of O-line, our guy Nick Mangold getting inducted into the Jets Ring of Honor today. Grew up just outside of Cincinnati. What a full circle moment.
It's going to be really cool seeing 74 in the rafters at MetLife. I'm kind of jealous of the beard, though.
I don't think I could pull that off.
I think you might be able to. In another world.
That's the tea.
Eric Allen and Bart Scott in studio. We're joined by Leger Douzable. How do you look at the Bengals? I mean, this is a 0-2 team that easily could be 2-0.
Well, this is a team that, traditionally when you talk about the Bengals in that division, whether it's Cleveland or Cincinnati, they thrive in a role of underdog. But sometimes front runners, they don't play so well. And you hear the complaints coming from Jamar Chase. You hear the complaints from Joe Burrow talking about, hey, teams are beating us in cover 2. We have to come up with some cover 2 beaters. That's why the defensive line is more important in more ways than one, because you want to stop them with a light box. And I think the first thing that they don't have to stop is Joe Mixon, because when this offense is well, it goes through Joe Mixon, not Jamar Chase. And sometimes I think Joe Burrow kind of got too comfortable and thought, the NFL was too easy with him just throwing to his best friend. But I think they're going to go through Joe Mixon, so you're going to have to be able to stop him with a light box. Keep the ball from going over your head. No explosive plays. T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, you got to keep them in front. And to do that, the linebackers are going to have to play, great games, because it's going to be 6-man box when they go out with those 3 receiver sets. But also, you talk about being in those over fronts where you understand where the ball has to be funneled to. No balls outside. The B gap to the open side is going to be open. The A gap or the C gap on the closed side. You have to understand that as a linebacker, bossing to your proper gaps. And that's why you have to be great tacklers in space, because you're going to be asked to tackle in space.
Man, that's a lot of gaps, Leger. With all that being said,
2 for 2 linebackers.
Hey,
man.
is this going to be a high-scoring affair today? Because last year the Jets took down the Bengals 34-31, and I'll tell you what, their running backs did a lot of damage out of the backfield catching the ball.
I don't think this will be like last year. I think this will be more of a lower scoring game, more of a defensive battle. I mean, the Bengals defense has kept them in the game. Week 1 versus the Pittsburgh Steelers had 5 turnovers and still had a chance to win that game. Last week gave up 6 sacks, still had a chance to win that game. It'll be interesting to see how the Cincinnati Bengals come out, because last week versus the Dallas Cowboys, because Cooper Rush was the quarterback, they went away from that too high shell that they usually always play, and they played a lot of man coverage, but Cooper Rush was able to find Noah Brown. He was able to find CeeDee Lamb in one-on-one situations and slants and back shoulder fades. So it'll be interesting to see if the Cincinnati Bengals come out like that, knowing that the Jets want to establish a run, again, averaging almost 5 yards a carry, or do they go back to that too high shell look and make Joe really decide it and know where to go with the football? Because then it becomes Mike LaFleur. How do we attack this cover 2 defense?
Thanks, guys. That was a great class of football 501. Will the Jets make it 2 in a row today at MetLife Stadium? We're about to find out.